Hi, this is David Smith. I am still at Game Connection in Lyon, and I'm very pleased to have with me Lisa Tse, Director of Opus Artz Limited in London. Lisa, what inspired you to enter video games?
I've always been a passionate gamer at heart since I was a child. I think being from a Chinese origin, that sometimes is part of your cultural upbringing. My background has predominantly been in design and in the creative arts, and it's through my colleagues and co-workers that I've got into video games now, and I've worked in design for over 10 years, and I've only recently branched that to bring creativity back into the video games industry, and that's where my involvement and interest comes into it.
And how did you get your first job in the games industry?
Well, as I said, I've worked for over 10 years in design. That's predominantly consulting from everything from marketing, advertising, brand development, industrial design and product development. Digital design was obviously at the time at the forefront of growing, so I got very involved in digital platforms and web design and mobile telecoms as well. And that naturally led on to games. And more recently, I co-founded a new digital arts company called Opus Artz, which is now 3 years old. And that has been my new foray into games. So you could argue that was my first job.
Thank you, very good. Do you think it's harder for women to enter the games industry than it is for men?
I've often asked this question as a young female who's worked in business for the last 10 years about the obstacles being feminine with their gender issues in employment. And I like to argue that there are many differences that separate people in any industry, and that gender being one of them should not be one that should be marginalized or perpetuated. And certainly I've not been aware of my own femininity as I approach these tasks or these industries. I see myself as somebody who just has an offering, who has a skill, who has a knowledge, and comes to that job and brings it to that scene. And in games, I don't see that as being any different. And I think other people should be encouraging other people to see those skill sets as individuals rather than as genders.
Absolutely. Have you ever felt the need to dress down or play down the fact that you're a woman in order to be taken seriously by your colleagues?
I have to honestly say that when I was very young and just starting out, I set up my first business when I was 26, and I came out of art college being a very creative environment. Entering quite a severe business environment, you feel a pressure to conform to a certain stereotype, but it's having the strength and confidence to know that actually you should believe in your own skills and your own individuality, and that if we accommodate those stereotypes, we just perpetuate something that's actually not within our own interests. So for the last 7 years, I quite happily can say I've been standing up and championing the fact that femininity should exist in business, and that in fact, where do we question gender boundaries in this current day and age, that we're too busy trying to stereotype and box people, and really it should be about celebrating individuals and seeing themselves and being more open-minded, especially in an industry like games where creativity should be celebrated.
Very true. Do you think that the difficulties of being a woman in the game industry are overstated?
I think that might be true to an extent, but only because perhaps successes are understated. And this is where Women in Games is a fantastic initiative, so I think it's wonderful what you're trying to do. And I myself am very active in promoting women in business, and I think it's very important to have positive role models so that the younger generation and women around the world can be inspired to say, well, actually these individuals do it in their own way, and it's important to set a benchmark that there is no formula to follow, and that we really need to follow our own paths. Congratulations to you for doing that.
Thank you very much. Finally, what advice would you give to women wanting to enter the games industry or other industries like games, either as a first job or as a career change?
I think it's important to know the environment you're entering into, but also to have confidence that you can help shape it and make a difference. These platforms and these architectural structures exist probably from history, from people that have created them. And then if we obviously accommodate that, then we obviously perpetuate it. And we really just need to carve our own way, and I think it's important to stand true to your own beliefs and to just to be confident in what you do.
Lisa Tse, Director at Opus Artz Limited, thank you very much.
Thank you.